So I'm Andrew Baumann. I'm the Director of Enterprise Solutions at Vistage Technology. I've been in Vistage for about 2 years now. I work remote. I don't have an office anymore, and I'm the once a every 2 month session where I get to actually go in person and meet people around my career growth and age and talk to them is very valuable too. Hey, you can get that kind of in-person connection that you might not have because you're remote. Whether it's kind of more intrapersonal about the way I interact with people and getting better at certain types of communication, or it's more strategy with KPIs. Hey, we want to see X growth or Y, hit Y goal. I bring those to Vistage too, right? I'm like, hey, let's discuss these. How do I get there? And so I think they see it as, my dedication to advancing my career and improving my skills. As an example, we just did a kind of an exercise on leadership development where we took a survey and kind of, hey, this is where you did well. This is what you maybe need some improvement on. And I brought it to my boss and we had like a dedicated session where we went over the results. I said, hey, these are the things I want to improve on. This is how I think I should improve. He gave me some feedback, some advice too. We set up kind of working sessions to track the progress on those different things. And so it kind of gives not only does it give a very structured way to improve in those aspects of my career and my skill set that I want to, I think my leadership sees it as this like, look at Andrew's going above and beyond to really improve himself, So I'll start you right at the beginning. We get there, we have breakfast. So there's always like pastries and things, coffee. We mingle, we talk, we catch up. In my group, there's a lot of weddings and children. So there's usually somebody who has done something pretty big in the last 2 months. And then we start with a speaking session. And so that's someone who's almost usually flown in and they're bringing in this expert opinion, right? This expert perspective. Sometimes it's on like very work specific topics. Like we had a guy who spoke about marketing basically and like how to really be innovative marketing, how to think of your go-to-market strategy in an interesting way. And then we've had people who have talked about like how to be happy, like what is the core of happiness. We had an AI speaker, of course, you've got to learn a little bit about AI. And then so once we do those sessions, then we break for lunch. We mingle, we catch up. We recap about the session. Sometimes we talk about the book we just read together. Sometimes we're going over the development plans. We also always do issue processing. And so issue processing is basically, hey, somebody opens up and says, I'm dealing with this situation at work. Can you give me advice? And everybody asks questions. It's, no judgment, very confidential. You can't, you're not supposed to, you don't bring things up outside of the Vistage group. We ask questions, figure out what the problem is, give some recommendations. I've done it before, as you'd expect, and I've found it very valuable. But then the session's basically over. So it's hard not to say the AI one, right? Because it was so specific to me and my business. Um, just learning a little bit more about, because this individual is like had been doing AI for a long time. And so hearing from him what that experience was like, what challenges they run into, how you should think of AI. He had a session during his talk where he was basically like, here's the tools you can have access to and here's how to use them, which was awesome, right? So that was a great session. We also had a session from the one I talked about happiness, where he just kind of spoke about his life experience being, he has a disability, he can't see, but it was degenerative. So like he lost his vision. And so for him to kind of talk about his experience and how he found, you know, he came to cope with the fact that he was losing his sight and ultimately came to be happy and live his life. And for example, he talked about the fact that he loved to bike. He was like a big cycler, marathon cycler. He kind of had to accept that he couldn't do it anymore, but then completed this humongous, 100-mile thing with his friends riding in like a tandem bike. And so, that was a really meaningful session. I think for me, it's hard not to say the connections, because those are the most meaningful, right? They're people that you wouldn't have met really in any, like there'd be no chance of meeting some of the people that I am in Vistage with, right? But those connections and the kind of friendships you grow, but also the like career friendships, right? Where you can leverage people for different things or questions. That's invaluable, right? I'm in leadership, but like I'm a little bit of middle management, right? I'm kind of like at that point where I'm not at that executive strategic level, but Vistage gives me the ability to think strategically and plan strategically and kind of like bring those ideas and stuff like that to the forefront. So I'd imagine in 5 years, here's hoping that I'd be an executive, right? I'd be at that point, and my boss would say to George, you prepared Andrew to take that leap, take that next step and think from that perspective, right? No longer thinking, hey, what do I do for my team, right? When you're an executive, it's what do you do for the organization, right? What's the whole big picture, right? Like Vistage kind of unlocks that for me. I would absolutely do it. I would absolutely. You gain things you couldn't otherwise gain, right? I challenge too that I would be able to find, even if I tried, even if I spent 2, 3, 4, 10 times the time looking around, I probably still couldn't find as valuable sessions and as valuable people that I meet at Vistage, right? So there's that element of it too. So it's absolutely worth the expense, right? So they've got speakers coming in. Couldn't I just find that stuff online? They've got people in the sessions. Couldn't I just go to something free and meet with those people? And sure, you could do those things, but number one, your chair is kind of curating this experience for you, right? So they're removing any sort of, hey, this is a good talk. This is somebody who's really valuable, who's got good things to say that's relevant for your career, where you are, your experience. And then with the people, you're like condensing all people that are, again, relevant to you, similar in age, similar in career experience level. And so what I get from Vistage is like, I know every day I go to Vistage, it's the sessions in the morning is going to be valuable. The time I spend with my peers are going to be valuable, right? My 30 seconds to 1 minute elevator pitch for a CEO would be, on your team, you've got A players in the kind of director, manager levels, people that are highly motivated, highly talented, smart, right? Passionate too. And you also know people like that don't set aside enough time to do enablement for themselves to improve. They're often the type of people who pick up extra work at work and pick up extra tasks and get involved in things, which is great. But me before Vistage, I ran out of time constantly. And it always became this promise of like, hey, I'll improve, but then you never do it. And so the great thing about Vistage is it's not only it's an investment in your top talent, which I think any CEO would do in an instant, but it's a very purposeful setting aside time, going somewhere, getting the training, the sessions, the speaking sessions from talented people as well, but also then those connections too that can help broaden their network and broaden my summary would be your top talent. It's an investment in your top talent from two different perspectives, in their talent and their skill set, and also in their network, right? It's hey, we want to acknowledge, you have a bright future here, and this is what we're giving to you, that we're opening up this network for you because we believe in your ability to kind of advance your career. So my favorite thing about George is that he is disciplined, right? He takes, and to your earlier question about, hey, this is expense, this is money we're spending. He is very serious about the role of being a chair and what that means, and like, hey, every single person here is paying money to be here. Not only does he take his role seriously, but there's a kind of a very genuine above and beyond of like, I actually care about the people in my session that I appreciate from George. Getting a text from him, and I always smile because it's something nice he's saying, right? He deserves it. If you look at everything else of like all the connections I've made, right? The people I can talk to now, the Vistage network I have access to, all of that stuff is included. But actually the kind of George has set me down the path of being more, I don't want to say motivated, but like interested in what's out there that can help me advance my career.